Hello folks, Big Rich here. Tonight I will be reading this fan's story that was sent in to us. She asked to stay anonymous due to the nature of the story and its content. Please be advised that this story is very mature themed, and I was given the liberty to make subtle changes due to some areas being very graphic in content. With that said, I hope you enjoy tonight's fan story time. Hello, I'm your everyday 40-something woman. I have a degree, a great career, and no biological kids. I do have a Siberian Husky though that is my world. I have never been married, and I've only been in 4 relationships in my life, with each lasting roughly 6 to 9 years. It wasn't until I met my last boyfriend, though, that I had thought that I had found true love. I instantly fell head over heels for this man. It was almost like I was living in a fairy tale in the real world. He would open doors for me. He sent me flowers and candies. He took me on carriage rides. And the entire time, he made sure I was the center of his attention. I would often question myself, like, am I living a dream? The guy is a complete gentleman. I mean, we never even kissed until our 4th date. But it seems soon after that is when things started getting a little weird. While the relationship seemed to be growing and going well, I started to feel as though I really didn't know him as a person. Normally, we would meet up in public, or he would come over to my place, and around the 6-month mark, he started opening up to me just a little bit. Now, to understand the story fully going forward, you need to know, at this point, we have still not been intimate sexually. This did kind of start to frustrate me because he wasn't even very engaging when it came to even holding hands, hugging, or kissing. And when we did touch, it was normally in public, which I was thinking was kind of weird. So once again, we were meeting up on our Sunday evening to have dinner at my place, and tonight I was cooking for him. I was determined that he was going to stay the night with me, and that tonight would be the night that we would actually have sex. As we sat down to eat dinner, after a couple glasses of wine, I started to poke and prod at him just a little bit about why we were never intimate behind closed doors. And without missing a beat, the first word out of his mouth was, "I'm scared." I respond back with, "Scared of what?" He replied, "I'm scared of what she might do to you." I almost spit my wine on the table as my eyes bugged out of my head, and I said, "Excuse me?" He then begins to ramble on about how she has never liked me, how she wants to hurt me, how he is protecting me from her. At this point, my heart drops to my stomach. I am seeing red, and I am getting very angry. He pleads with me to try and understand him, that if he goes too full into detail, I just might think that he's crazy. Or even worse, she might do harm to me that night. And as if we were in a movie on cue, right as he said that, the table shook. Confused, angry, and now I'm beginning to get a little scared. He says, "See? She doesn't like you." Then it hits me. He must be talking about a spirit or a ghost. But it was far, far worse. He moves to the living room and sits on my couch, where he begins to just spill his entire soul to me. That this entity controls his life and has been with him since he was 15 years old. While I'm skeptical and still confused, the anger begins to subside. But now I'm starting to worry. Is he crazy? Surely not. He's a well-educated man. He's very articulate. And I've known him for over 6 months. I would have recognized other things, wouldn't I have? So instead of packing up and running for the hills, I decide to embrace this and try and work through it with him, because at this point my love had grown so strong for this gentleman. As he continued to explain himself, it all started to make a little more sense. Or maybe I was just wanting it to make sense, because I had spent so much time with him and I just didn't want to wake up from what I thought was a beautiful dream. When in reality I'm about to find out I'm stuck in a nightmare. As we continue our discussion, he explains to me that he has been a sex slave to a succubus since his early teens. That this entity forces him to not only have sexual intercourse with her, but it invites other entities to join in. He goes on about how they torment him until their satisfaction, and unless invited in, no one from the physical world is able to join in, or they will cause harm. I was confused with that and questioned him by asking, "What do you mean, join in?" He elaborates that he is not allowed to have physical sexual contact with physical beings unless he gets approval from the succubus. And if he does, she would join in. Again, this is all starting to spook me and get a little weird. Even after all of this, and the revelations, and the confusion, and things in my head saying, push him out the door, I invited him to stay the night. Call me stupid, call me love blind. I just don't know why I made that decision, and it still haunts me to this day, because what I'm about to reveal is going to shock you. He agreed to stay on one condition, that he slept on the couch and I locked my bedroom door. And of course, I agreed. After getting him comfortably set up on my couch, I went to lay down in my bedroom and did indeed lock the door. As I sat there, tossing and turning, I could not sleep. All that ran through my mind was, what has gone on? What has happened? Where did my dream go? Where have the last 6 months gone? How could I have not noticed, recognized, or even seen this prior to tonight? A few hours go by, and I'm still awake. I get up off the bed to go use the restroom. What I heard next dropped my jaw to the floor. A female's voice with a maniacal giggle is coming from the living room. My heart starts racing, and I almost turned pale white as I stood there. I make my way to my door, and I put my ear up to try and hear. The sounds of moans, both man and woman, coming from the other side. Trying to rationalize this in my head to come up with a reasonable explanation, I told myself he must have the TV on. I unlock the door. I slowly open it and creep down the hall. As I come up on the living room, I bend down and tiptoe my way up to my reading chair. As I gazed over the back of the chair, I see what is the silhouette of my boyfriend and another woman in a missionary position on the couch having sex. At that point, the fear disappeared and anger arose again. I dash over to the couch. I reach down and rip the blanket off of them. But it wasn't them. It was just him. Angry and crying. Now I'm confused. I try to shake him, but he won't respond. His eyes are closed, but yet he is having sex with what I think is thin air. I go and turn the lights on. I look over the couch, and I see what is an impression of a woman's full figure laid on the couch. At this point, the laughing gets louder, the moaning gets louder. The lights start flickering. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, I need to get out of here. But at the same time, I'm telling myself, I can't leave him here like this. I call out his name. I shout his name. No response. So I run back over to the couch. I shake him once more and try and pull him. And at that instance, I'm thrown back over 10 foot across the floor. As I laid there, I was in shock. Where I had been touched to be pushed back was burning and tingling. I looked down and I could only see a portion, but it was the mark of 2 hands as if they had grabbed me and pushed at the shoulders. My only objective at this point was to get out of my own house safe at that moment. I gathered my composure, got my shoes, got a jacket, and exited the front door. My first impulse was to contact the police. My second impulse was to go to the church. I ended up at my best friend's house. Later that day, I head home, and there was no sign of my boyfriend. Not knowing how to react or respond at the moment, I thought that I would wait for him to reach out to me. Sure enough, a few hours later, he gave me a call, asked me how I was doing. It's as if he was none the wiser. He opened up after that, saying that he hopes that I understood and would like to work with him in our relationship after our discussion at dinner and on the couch. When I brought up what had happened to me and the incident on the couch, he had no recollection and could not recall any of it. Shortly after all of this, we did break up, and I never heard from him again. This is the first time that I've ever told the story to anyone but my best friend. I never did go to the police, but I did reach out to a priest as well. And after talking with him, he told me I needed to seek counseling. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe even far-fetched, but this account did take place in my life. While I have never witnessed anything like this since, I still carry the scars and battle wounds from this relationship and incident. And there we have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's Fan Story Time. And hopefully we can make this a weekly thing here on the YouTube channel and not just our live updates on Facebook. Until next week, it's Big Rich saying, God bless and have a wonderful evening.